two representatives to show up, and apparently she she's not going to make it today. She had a little accident at her house, so but we'll move forward. And like again, I apologize for the delay. And I know we have some visitors here from MnDOT and from the area, so we'll move them up in the agenda so we can get them on their home. And I know we're going to add a few of them here when we come up to our agenda approval. So, but at this time, I like to say miigwech for coming on. I know the roads were bad, and I'm glad you're here safely. So drive home safely too. So, Secretary Treasurer, or first we'll call the meeting in order at 11 or 9:36. So. Secretary Treasurer Alan Roy, please do roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. District 1? Here. District 2 is excused, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Okay. District 2 is excused. District 3? Yeah. The Secretary Treasurer is here, Mr. Chairman.
We have a quorum. Miigwech. The agenda approval. I know we're going to add. Do you want to move them up before our presentations?
Yeah, I would move Landon and MnDOT up here.
Okay. Okay, we're going to add the MnDOT presentation and also the Powell Committee budget. Okay. We'll move MnDOT and Blandon up to the reports on number 6 there. So we'll put them up there and we'll go from there. Yes. Yeah, we're going to move them up to.
Then we have motion from the board for the Economic Development Association. Six-year term, and then we have some people already active in that capacity on that board. But we're going to have a role on that association.
Okay, the Monoman County Economic Development Board, 2-term. We have 2 people that we're going to appoint. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, with that, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Ray, second by Umzi. All in favor? Motion approved. We have an agenda. Next up is RBC meeting minutes for 10/25/19 and 11/12/19.
Mr. Chairman, on page 13 of 14, on the 1025, on 13 of 14, on 1025 on the bottom. I just want to clarify that I did not leave the meeting. I was talking to a constituent in the audience, so.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes for 10:25:19 and 11:12 of 19. Motion by Umsey to approve the minutes for both of them, For both of them. Second by Ray. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, number 6. We're going to move up. We'll have, who's been waiting the longest? No. We'll have MinDOT come up first and do their presentation, and then Blanding can go second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and council members. Where do you want me to stand here? Just right here, in this way? Okay. Well, thank you for having us today. We are here, well, first of all, my name is Shiloh Wall. I'm the district engineer for MinDOT. And with me today I have, what's that? Oh yeah, please pass those out, Justin. I have Justin Knopf, the project manager for MinDOT. We also have Jake Nordic and Jamie Woke with SRF. So we're here today to talk about the Highway 200 project that we've been developing here over this last year. Just some quick history on the project and why we're here today is, you know, when we worked on the Highway 200 resurfacing project back in 2016, and then following that project, we did the Highway 59 project from, you know, I think it was the way up by just north of Monoman. I'm forgetting the limits, but north of Monoman all the way down to close to Callaway on Highway 59. We resurfaced that project, replaced a bunch of culverts, and we also went through Monoman. We added a center left turn lane through town and that much needed path for walking and biking along that corridor. So when we were meeting and having those conversations with White Earth folks and residents that lived in the area, we heard much needed concern or a lot of concerns about the Highway 200 corridor. And so that kind of we talked to some of our MinDOT staff, and we talked to White Earth staff, and we heard a lot of concerns about the walking and the biking and just residents that live along that corridor and the heavy commercial truck traffic that drives that corridor a lot. And we started looking into it a lot more deeper. And that led to several meetings that we had with White Earth members, and we did meet with the council maybe 2-3 years ago. And we started developing a project to widen shoulders along Highway 200. In the meantime, we were applying for some federal grants and other money that we were hoping to get funded for. We weren't successful on the grants. However, MinDOT, we felt that this was a big enough commitment and a big enough concern in our district. We're District 4. There's 8 districts in Minnesota. We're District 4, so we're kind of a long, skinny district. And we go way up from Monoman all the way down to Big Stone and Swift counties. We go over to the North Dakota and South Dakota border, and then we go over to about the Wadena County line. So we're a long, skinny district. And for District 4, this was a big concern, and we wanted to address it. So we pushed back some of our internal projects that we would have paved, and we pushed some of those projects back, and we wanted to fund this project. And so that's where we're at today. And so we're in the project development stage. We have hired, with partnership with White Earth, we've hired SRF to help us with the design and look at, you know, all the mitigations with wetlands and what we can do on this corridor. So with that, we have 2 typical sections that are passed out there in front of you today. One of the typical section, it runs from approximately Monoman to Roy Lake. And that typical section would look like 2 12-foot lanes with 6-foot shoulders, and then 4-to-1 inslopes. So we'd also be flattening those inslopes along that highway. From Roy Lake, roughly at the curves into Roy Lake, the typical section changes a little bit. It adds a 5-foot shoulder on the north side, 2 12-foot lanes, a 2-foot buffer zone, and then an 8-foot walking path on the lake side. And that was also something that through meetings and meeting with staff and having, I think there was an open house that was held, and we really thought that was a need. for folks that live in that Roy Lake area and walk along that and around the lake there for fishing and recreational purposes. So MnDOT has committed to fund that bike path also with this project. And then from Roy Lake to the about 3/4 to the mile to the east of Roy Lake, that typical section will look similar to the rural section, except it'll have on the south side, it'll have a paved shoulder on that side. So it'll be 6-foot shoulder, 2 12-foot lanes, and then a paved shoulder on the from Roy Lake to about 3/4 of the mile to the east. And so that's a lot of the project. We're looking for construction in 2022. So right now we're in the design stages. We need to look at obviously a lot of the wetland impacts that we're going to have and how we mitigate those impacts along the corridor. And so there's some environmental things that we're going through. We do follow a environmental process that steps us through, and we ensures that we don't miss anything along the corridor when we're disturbing the environment. So that's very near and dear to our agency also, and we want to make sure that we do a project that is holistic and involves all the concerns of the environment, the residents, the traveling public, and everybody else that travels that corridor. So with that, I guess I believe there's also a resolution that the council does have, and we were looking for a resolution and on this topic, and I can open it up for questions if there are questions about the project or what you do have in front of you.
Well, thank you for that report. Being part of the last meeting, going over a lot of this stuff and, the safety concerns, and I know when they resurfaced this a few years ago, is like, I know that a lot of band members were kind of concerned with not widening at that time. So here we are again with, our director of roads here, Mike Wallman, and pushing this forward and working along with MnDOT. And so we're really we're glad that this is back on the table, and we're going to, widen our roads on 200. So I think it's a very good project for our reservation, and we appreciate all the hard work that went into this project, and I'm glad. So I think we're looking for the resolution now. So. Okay, I'd like to make a motion for expanding our roads on Highway 200, resolution number 071-20-001. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Raymond, second. Second by Umsey, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate your time again. Thank you. Miigwech. Thank you, Michael. Okay, next up is Blandon.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kathy Annette. I'm not Bernadine Jocelyn, whose name is on the list. Bernadine is at the Blandon Foundation, where I'm the president and CEO, and she's kind of the leader in the broadband effort we do. When I first came here 9 years ago and they said we do broadband, I'll tell you, I really didn't have a clue what that meant. And what it is, it's access to high-speed internet. So I thought, wow, this is really cool. And I said, what does that mean? And what it meant is at home at the time, I had a computer connection that took forever. I don't know if some of you remember that. You dial it. Well, now I'm really aging myself. We used to dial in, but you can also do the satellite, and it still was so slow. But you'd sit and you'd wait. We couldn't watch anything on it because it would be too slow. High speed gives you all sorts of access and opportunity. We're here today from the Blandin Foundation to really talk a little bit about some opportunities or dreaming for White Earth in terms of, is there a way that we could help and support communities in getting high-speed internet? And not only that, once you got it, how do you use it? I remember when I finally had access to high-speed internet, I had no clue. I mean, I wanted to learn how to Google, look up things, make all sorts of stuff that I could do for work. Didn't have a clue. You have to learn too. So what we've done for the past 15 years is we go and work with communities that want us there to say, we want to learn how to use this, and we want to make sure that our community members have access. Now, we've worked with some tribes, and I'd love to give you just a few examples. I'll be really quick here, which is really cool, some of the things that's been done. For example, at Leech Lake, their Boys and Girls Club created a club tech center. And I'll tell you, as you know, you put these kids on computers and off they go. But not only did they do it for the kids, but for community members too. So if you want to do things like apply for a job, you can use the computer there to do that. So it was really important for Fond du Lac, for example. They also worked with their kids who created a application for mobile phones, and that's how kids communicate now, to really look at things like math and Ojibwe language. So if you dream about what you can do for your community, that's what we're here to support. How do we work side by side with communities if this is a direction they want to go? To be able to access this for us and our kids, but also, how the heck do you use it once you access it? So with that, Bill Coleman's been working with the Blandin Foundation in this area for 13 years now. So he knows the ins and outs. He'll give you a brief description, and our request today is pretty simple. And I'll wait until after Bill's presented.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm lucky enough to work with Blandin Foundation on this broadband program, and we've worked with over 40 counties and communities and tribal governments. Step away from there, I think. And to help them make better use of the internet. And much of the work that we do also helps communities to improve their internet service by working with existing telecommunications providers or by deciding to build their own telecommunications networks. And so that was the case in Fond du Lac, where they're now building their own fiber to the home internet network to each of the homes in their community. And they were able to get organized and write a very successful grant to help fund that. But through this, what we call Blandin Broadband Communities, the foundation provides up to $75,000 of money for community projects that help promote the access and use of broadband. And so things like Wi-Fi hotspots and tribal buildings, or Wi-Fi on buses that transport people around a community, a lot of training for businesses and entrepreneurs, artists and craftspeople to be able to sell their products online. And so each community then forms a team to decide how to spend these dollars. And usually we have we try and have many small projects, so that for $75,000, most communities do 10 to 15 projects. So they split that up pretty frugally, but we know that people can do a lot of great things with just a little extra money. We also have an affiliated program around trying to get better internet service. And so we have a $25,000 grant available that if you wanted to do a feasibility study, that's an opportunity for the band to do that. And I know that several years ago, Blandin did provide dollars for a feasibility study in White Earth, and we have to do a little catching up as to see what that is and if it's still valuable. Technologies change and things change, so it may have some value still. But then one of the things we promise is that we come and work with the community team to lead through a process that in a relatively short period of time we can develop those project ideas and get things going. So in about 120 days, usually from when we start to when we allocate the dollars, that's a pretty short time to start getting things up and running and seeing some fun success. We do ask a lot from our communities, commitment to participate and to form this cross-sector team of education and healthcare, elders, youth groups. Everyone comes together to form this process. So it's kind of a bottom-up process of deciding what's really important for our community. We look for leadership and support from the tribal council, key stakeholder engagement, like I noticed of key staff for the tribe would be important. And then cash and in-kind match. Most of our communities do most of their matching with in-kind. So it'd be tribal staff and other folks that would be participating. Their time we value very highly. This takes place over about 18 months to 2 years to start the process to where we close out the project grants. And sometimes people have been told, well, this is so much work because we keep meeting and thinking of things to do. And but the excitement and the completion of these projects is great. On the back side, you can see the success factors and the project ideas. Some of these I've already mentioned on the success factors, so I won't go through that again. But clearly this cross-sector participation of health, education, economic development, workforce is very important. And then you can see the lists of different projects that people have done across the state about online job skills. We just, in Southwestern County, in Swift County, just implemented a program that let people take welding training online. So you don't think of welding as a high-tech thing, but the fact that they could get prepared for the hands-on training in their homes, on their schedule, and then come and spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday learning how to weld. People move from $12 an hour assembly jobs to $20 welding jobs in about 6 weeks. So people there were very excited to have that training. So that's just one example of the kind of things you can see. We love to have the youth involved. We love to have elders involved, and many times there's youth training elders on how to use technology, and it's great fun. In Two Harbors, an elder was saying, well, asked a young football player who was helping him learn how to use his iPad. He says, well, what are you doing Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock? And the youth wasn't smart enough to know that he was being suckered in, and he said, nothing. He said, well, now you're coming down to the food bank and unload our truck because we're getting too old to do it ourselves. And so there's nice activities that happen like that as well. And so that would be the opportunity. And I think what we're looking for today, I think there is a resolution asking that just to enter into the discussion to see if this is an appropriate activity for White Earth to prioritize and enter an agreement with Blandon Foundation.
Well, thank you for that presentation, Miigwech. We're looking for the resolution now, and to me it sounds like a pretty good thing. If we can better our communities through broadband, I think it's something that we should be talking about and discussing, and of course meeting with council and and our community members. I think that it's a great idea. So motion by Alan, second by Ray. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it. That would probably be with Maria or Randy or Tommy Bement. You can follow up with Randy. Okay, next up on the agenda is the reports, and the chairman reports the first one, and what one of the things that's been that's been kind of pressing lately with my office is the untimely deaths of a lot of our tribal band members that happened in the last few weeks here, and that we've lost a few people in District 2, and I know talking to Public Safety Director Michael LaRock and other council members, this is kind of a really kind of a kind of sad time for us as a nation, and and myself going out to the representing our council and going out to the spirit fires and talking to the families, and there's a lot of kind of like sadness out there, and kind of like anger towards the drugs, and I think that this, coming back to our table again, to the tribal council, is like, I know we're going to meet with Mike again here real soon, and talk about how we're going to revisit this again and how we're going to combat this. And I don't think we ever came out of our state of emergency when it came to our opioids. And I know we have a really good workers, employees out there that are working in harm reduction and behavioral health division, and that are out there and trying to help our people. And and I just being in these communities and listening to them, it's like it's just like we should be doing more, and feeling for these families and the loss of their loved ones is, and it's just something that affects us all. We're, like I always say, we're all related, and that's kind of true. So prayers out there. And I guess, when it comes to this is, today I was thinking about it because, it's just like, it's just like the friends of mine, and it's just like, it hurts too. So I've been praying and coping with it too. So, okay. And also, some of in my report too is some of the projects I've been kind of moving towards and still working on, of course, is homelessness, and, talking to the council, meeting with Martha and the Behavioral Health Department, and with Ben Bement and the other stakeholders in this process of trying to combat homelessness, for our people. And, we've been working really hard in the urban area to create partnerships and create, and I think, that back home here too, it's we have a issue with it up here too. And I know, with council here at the table, and, the numerous amount of text messages and messages in the messenger that a lot of our tribal members are in need, and that are kind of left out in the cold. And, of course, for ourselves, we try to stay away from using our commercial businesses as our shelters. But this is the project, I think, that, for this year, and it's getting colder outside, is like, we need to develop something. And I know I talked to council here in the last day or two that we need to work on something that's going to, be more permanent. And I think that, with us in this, how do you say it? I'm trying to say a team effort, that we can combat this and create something for next year. Like, we're talking about Leech Lake's homeless shelter, and I know some of the council members are eager to go over there and look at it. And, myself, I was over there a few weeks ago, and it's just a gorgeous building, and it's equipped for, 6 families and 20 beds, 10 men and 10 women. I think this is that we have to move in this direction for, I think, next year to combat this, I think. And it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of, we all want to help. We all have family that's homeless. We all have our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our uncles, our aunts that are sleeping on someone else's couch or in someone else's house. And I think that we need to look at it and create, better programming, better functions out there that would help our band members to have more resources to go to when it comes to those situations when they do fall down. So, that's the projects I'm working with council and with Martha and our team on homelessness. So hopefully that we're moving forward with this, that we can somewhat combat. And myself, I'm looking for buildings, something in close to Monoman or Nadawash, so we could have something temporary for this fall, late fall right now. So and I think that's important, that to our council, that we take care of our people here. So and that's one of the things I'm working on in my report. And the other one is, of course, working on our health systems, working with how we can improve things, and so I mean there's other things out there. And of course, reflecting back on last month, and at the veterans powwow, and miigwech to all the vets out there. And that was a good feeling to be at that powwow and to dance to those drums and those songs. And just I think those are the mechanisms that myself, I give myself back and pray for everybody out there too, and try to heal our reservation and help our people. And it's just that powwow was just a good time to reflect back and try to get focused again and move forward with being chairman of the reservation, because being chairman is a very difficult job. So I appreciate the the powwow committee for doing a good job that weekend. And we have a powwow coming up in New Year's here, so it's going to be good to come back and dance again. So, but yeah, so with that, that's kind of my report. And and I like, again, Chimigwich and thank you. So next up is the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to thank the Veterans Powwow Committee for the Vets Powwow that was held. I too was there, and I seen that a lot of our members of our community were there, and it was very honorable. It was very, very honorable. And for those veterans in the room, and for those that may have veterans in their families or friends, I also wish you the best. This is Veterans Month and Service Members Month here, and so really appreciate all the sacrifices you and your families have made. Recently, I attended the Tribal Interior Budget Council. I was appointed to the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee. Red Lake Nation had nominated me from the floor. I was supported by the Sault Ste. Marie tribe, and so now I will be serving on that national committee for funding related to the Interior Budget Council. While I was out there, I was fortunate enough to attend a Senate Committee on Indian Affairs hearing, and Tina Smith was very gracious enough to acknowledge White Earth Nation and the hard work that we're doing out here, and that was done within the committee. And while we were there, they also passed the Savannahs Act, and so that was a historic moment that'll be heading to the full floor of the Senate. And that's something that I think we need to have to protect our women and our children and our families. Also, while I was out there, the chairman had mentioned homelessness. I did talk to Ilhan Omar, Representative Omar. Many of our tribal members in the urban area live in her district. And I had conveyed to her that a lot of our folks are suffering from homelessness on the reservation, as well as in the Twin Cities. And so she is supportive of us having longer discussions on getting that fixed. And so I think we should really cultivate that relationship. Deb Holland, Representative Holland, I did speak with her as well. She's working on a number of national issues that are very beneficial to tribal nations and protecting our sovereignty. And so I look forward to having more discussions with her. She is supportive of White Earth Nation and the initiatives that we are conducting. And regarding the homelessness situation here on the reservation, last week I know we had spoken to some of the staff, and I know Raymond Aganash was appointed to be the chairman of the subcommittee on homelessness. And I do have a tentative action plan I would like to submit to the subcommittee, Mr. Chair. And Basically, it's just outlined as a one for a Monoman supportive housing. There's another number two would be reservation homeless shelter. I think we should have a homeless shelter on the reservation, and I think we should have it ready before next winter. A lot of our folks are suffering from homelessness, and we want to make sure that those folks are taken care of. Number three, now this is a temporary reservation homeless shelter. There is discussion on possibly utilizing the Bagley Casino Motel as on an as needed day-to-day basis for single adults. There are other locations on the reservation that could be utilized as well. But a lot of our folks, to me, I'm pragmatic. A lot of our folks are suffering now. We have to do something now about the issue. We got to take care of those folks that are having issues. And so I think if we're planning on building a permanent reservation homeless shelter, I think we need to have something now. We need to take care of our people now. The fourth thing, the Twin Cities. For our folks that live down in the Twin Cities, if the tribe uses our own money to construct a homeless shelter, then we can more than likely dictate who's able to utilize and access that homeless shelter, mainly tribal members. Right now, if you go to other homeless shelters, it's a mix and match of different individuals there. But as I've always stated, members come first. And so this I submit to you, Mr. Chair of the Homeless Committee. That being said, I do have a lengthy report, and I won't go into too much detail, Chair Fairbanks. I'll just jump to page 3, section 1, financial report. This provides an overview of the types of funds. I felt this was important to include in my report this month. It lets folks understand what are some of the activities that the tribe utilizes. This information is pulled from our annual audit report, the RBC's annual audit report. It's something that a lot of folks don't get to see. It breaks down governmental activities, government funds, proprietary funds, and it discusses that. And moving along to the general fund on page 4. The general fund includes departments that operate more for the good of the band members than to make a profit. Departments such as education and public safety are directly involved with band members. Other departments are indirectly involved with the band members but perform functions for the band's overall good. As reported through audits, special revenue funds were administered through the general government, and there are other areas that they do as well. The approved fiscal year 2020 RBC General Fund budget was authorized at the September 2019 regular meeting, and it has been included in this report under the financial inquiry section. For fiscal year 2020, month 1, reporting the revenues and expenditures for the band's most recent finances will be generated quarterly as substantial changes occur between reporting periods. For example, revenue and expenses arrive infrequently on a monthly reporting basis, and this standard applies to all funds and activities. Moving forward, the band will report the band's finances with significant changes highlighted at regular meetings, the monthly meetings. The band's most recent finances can be found below. As with any monthly report, the numbers will change significantly. To better reflect the actual finances of the band, quarterly financials will be provided for the quarter ending in December, March, June, and September of each year. And the unaudited preliminary numbers are subject to change as the numbers are finalized. Now, for governmental activities, overall from October 1 to October 31st, the first month of the fiscal year of 2020, combined revenue was 5.7 million and expenditures were 2.4 million. On October 31st, cash on hand was 59.8 million. However, 57.4 million is considered other governmental funds. 41.2 million of these funds belong to behavioral health, while the general fund was 2.4 million. Collective expenditures during this period were 2.4 million. Other governmental funds were 2.1 million, and the general fund was 253,000. Special revenue funds are used to account for the activities of various federal, state, and other grant programs. This has been reported as other governmental funds synonymously. The expenditure of grant funds is legally restricted to specified purposes. Program expenditures are budgeted on a basis of each respective program's fiscal year, which varies by program and generally may or may not coincide with the band's fiscal year. For the Behavioral Health Division, this was important for that because this applies directly to those funds. The Behavioral Health Division is made of 15 departments that are headquartered on the White Earth Reservation. Some of its programs are delivered in the Twin Cities and Duluth area to assist band members that do not live on the reservation. Program deficits. As the Behavioral Health Division is generally administered through special revenue funds that do not coincide with the band's fiscal year, putting together a budget for the division is very complex. However, with the Minnesota Department of Human Services MAT billing changes, the RBC requested a budget and business plan from the Behavioral Health Division to address these changes. As a budget was never established in prior years for the division, because each program and its grants run on different fiscal years than the band, preliminary estimates indicated that the Reservation Mom program was running a $1.7 million monthly deficit. Based upon further analysis authorized by the RBC, the program deficit was found to be annual, but also revealed a significant program deficit for the mental health program at $1.2 million annually. The losses are attributed to DHS billing changes for the Reservation Mom program is about 38% from the prior fiscal year. The unaudited preliminary numbers are subject to change as the numbers are finalized. For the behavioral health budget, which has been included in this report, at the request of the RBC, preliminary behavioral health bill and revenue budgets for fiscal year 2020 have been complete. The total revenue for all funds is $41.9 million. Expenses are $37.2 million, with net income of $4.7 million. Despite the Reservation Mom deficit, a net income of $1.8 million is generated when the MAT and Mom programs are combined. The total MAT and Mom budget for fiscal year 2020 is $15.1 million in revenue and $13.3 million in expenses. The Behavioral Health Division has 26 grants totaling $18.7 million that support their programs. The attached preliminary behavioral health bill and revenue budgets are subject to review and approval. It is estimated that the budget and business plan will be approved after January 1, 2020. We do have behavioral health division here that will be presented on their business plan later, and which is subject to approval. Moreover, Behavioral Health Fiduciary Responsibility Reserve Fund. The Minnesota Office of Legislative Auditor produced a report related to overpayments provided to White Earth Nation and Leech Lake Nation. Generally, the OLA report was focused on DHS issues and did not address the band's role in the alleged overpayments, except that the bands administered programs at DHS's direction. OLA has also stated that they lack the jurisdiction to compel the bands to cooperate in their audit, which has led them to contact federal officials. The Minnesota governor and other state officials have openly stated that the bands should be held harmless for the alleged overpayments. However, the DHS commissioner has stated that they are statutorily required to recuperate the alleged overpayment provided to the bands. The RBC has consistently stated that the band will protect its resources and that the band is not liable for the alleged overpayments. However, because the state of Minnesota is statutorily required to recuperate the alleged overpayment from the band, and the OLA has requested federal assistance, which causes great financial uncertainty for White Earth Nation, the RBC established a Behavioral Health Fiduciary Responsibility Reserve Fund in the amount of $17 million from the $41.2 million Behavioral Health Other Governmental Funds. The $17 million fund covers the $15 million alleged overpayments and an estimated $2 million mental health program takeback. Furthermore, the Behavioral Health Fiduciary Responsibility Reserve Fund was established to prevent the appearance of fraud if the band expended an exorbitant amount of funds from the behavioral health other governmental funds that would leave the band unable to fulfill a judgment or an order related to the alleged DHS overpayment. For the Health Division budget, at the request of the RBC, preliminary health bill and revenue budgets for fiscal year 2020 have been complete. The total revenue for all funds is $6.7 million. Expenses are $7 million with the net loss of $300,000. The division reports that the loss is mitigated by IHS carryover funds. The Health Division has 36 grants totaling $34.8 million that support its programs. Generally, these are considered special revenue funds with restrictions. Gaiman, for the first month, again, these will be moving forward on a quarterly basis, so we have a more accurate reflection. Consolidated gaming revenue was 7.3 million compared to a budget of 7.2 million, exceeding budget by $167,000 or 2.3%. Non-gaming revenue was 2.2 million compared to a budget of 2.4 million, under budget by 211,000 or 8.9%. Total expenses were 8.5 million compared to a budget of 9.2 million. A savings compared to a budget of $715,000 or 7.8%. Net income was 1 million compared to a budget of 342,000. Financial inquiries, we did have for the Memorial Assistance Fund, Mr. Chair, you were discussing a lot of the losses in our community. I do want to remind folks in the audience that the RBC has, I'll just read it. In fiscal year 2020, the RBC passed a motion to start a $1 million Memorial Assistance Fund for enrolled members. The Memorial Assistance Fund was budgeted for expenditures started in fiscal year 2020. Based upon prior year rates through constituent services, $300,000 was budgeted for constituent services to administer the fund for the current fiscal year. Memorial Assistant Guideline includes several provisions. I won't read through them, but I have attached them for folks that are interested. And band members are encouraged to contact the White Earth Constituent Services Program for additional assistance as related to the Memorial Assistant Guideline. The Constituent Service Guideline is included in this report. I have been getting phone calls from tribal members and their families, and they are very appreciative for the additional help that the RBC is providing to their families and their loved ones. While I was at the elder meeting last month, some questions came forward about the Youth and Elder Casino Fund, and so I also included that information in this report. For several years, the RBC has facilitated a Shooting Star Casino Youth and Elder Fund. This fund may assist with youth and elder activities. Generally, and at the discretion of the RBC, the funds are intended to assist with group activities. The Elder Fund currently has $53,565, and the Youth Fund has $128,428. The Elder Fund has been used to support community councils, elder trips, gift cards, and snow removal. The Youth Fund has been used for the Christmas toy program, Take a Kid Fishing Day, trip assistance, and gift cards. The Shooting Star Casino Youth and Elder Fund guideline and application for assistance are included in this report. So for those folks that are interested in those guidelines or that may want to utilize these funds, that information has been provided as well. Prior to the meeting, there was a financial inquiry on the fiscal year 2020 budget that has been included in this report for those folks. Again, I want to remind folks that this report will be placed on the website for those folks that are watching at home. For section 2, before moving along to that, sales and use tax report delivered by Tribal Finance. If I may, Mr. Chair, I have Scott here who's going to talk about the sales and use tax.
Good morning. So in fiscal year 2019, we've received so far $5,230,290. These taxes are made up of liquor taxes of about $126,000, petroleum taxes about $986,000, sales tax of $3,155,000, tobacco taxes of about $981,000. In addition, we have 2019 taxes we haven't received. We're expecting roughly, based upon previous quarters, of about another 600,000. So we're estimating at this time for fiscal year 19 taxes to be about $5,830,000. Fiscal year 2020, we have budgeted $5,500,000. And some of the questions were, where is this money spent? And this money is put into our general fund and it supports all the things that are in the general fund, along with some of the earnings that we get in those funds in general fund, as well as casino distribution. So
some of these programs include elder programs and youth programs and other things within the general fund, correct?
We have a lot of things like Boys and Girls Clubs, lawn mowing, elder snow removal, uh, fire protection, elderly nutrition. I mean, they're all police
And it-
protection.
An exhaustive list of every program in the general fund is provided on page 23 through page 26.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Section 2, fiscal violations and recommendations. Audits, I do have a blanket statement here that we are required, I'll just read it. In accordance with ordinance number 165 revised, audits are mandated by band law, and the Secretary Treasurer shall procure an independent audit of the accounting records of the band at least once a year, unless explicitly waived by the RBC. The responsibility and authority to conduct audits remains delegated to the Secretary Treasurer under the ordinance. General counsel, internal affairs, and associated audits are budgetarily supported by other professional services in the legal department. For 2019 audits, a final report is expected for delivery to the RBC before January 1, 2020. Prior year behavioral health funds, Vanya S. Hogan, attorney with Hogan Adams Law Firm from St. Paul, Minnesota, has been hired to give a legal opinion on behavioral health funds that were used to pay back previous year's behavioral health losses to the general fund. Eide Bailey accounting firm has been engaged in the behavioral health audit and is working with Ms. Hogan to provide additional audit information. When Ms. Hogan has completed her work, the RBC will forward the legal opinion along with Eide Bailey's information to the Office of Inspector General. This information will be forwarded to the OIG's Compliance Department for an advisory opinion. This advisory opinion will provide the RBC with an opinion that identifies the legality of the behavioral health funds paid back to the RBC General Fund. And then the final section here is for tribal members that may have been interested for the Office of the Legislative Auditor, payments for self-administered opioid treatment medication, pays for self. So this is the OLA's report. This has been included for those folks that may not have been able to find it online or were unable to attend the hearing itself. And I summarized that in my report. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Miigwech. Ray, do you have anything to report from District 1?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everybody, and glad you all made it here safe. Roads are pretty slick this morning. But I would also like to thank the call committee for the veterans powwow. I did get a lot of good comments off of that, and that's very appreciated when you can get those types of comments. But I'd also like to thank our community council and our maintenance for setting up here today and getting everything ready. And our community council has been, I got to hand it out to them. They have been doing a lot of work up here with our kids, doing this, doing that. And they're also getting their bingo set up. They're getting all the workers ready, and I believe they hope to get started here by next month, I believe, with the bingo. They are getting everything done. I had a few people come up and ask me about our cemetery, both in Rice Lake and Pine Bend. As soon as we can get a fence up around in Rice Lake and get it marked out up there, we will be able to start using the next part of our cemetery over there. And Pine Bend, we have to look into the land as to who owns it and if we can go in there and make that one much bigger than, because our cemeteries are filling fast, I'm sorry to say. On a good note, our housing, I have to appreciate them very much because District 1 was awarded 2 grants, one for homeowners and one for the housing units. So if you know anybody that wants to get their name in for these houses, to get their houses fixed up, this money will be coming in, but I will leave that up to them to explain to it. And I really appreciate what our housing department is up to. I also like to thank MnDOT. We had quite a few meetings with MnDOT on the project from 200 and from Zirkle all the way to Mahnomen. Once they get done with this is going to be an excellent highway. I mean, it's going to be wider. It's going to have shoulders. You don't have to worry about hitting the edge of the road and ending up in a ditch like it is right now when you're not paying attention like me. Sometimes I'm on my phone. But Again, I did meet with Ben Bement. We had a call yesterday, and we were awarded $3.5 million to start a homeless shelter in Monoman. I know it's only going to be temporary, but we do got a meeting in Natawash on November 17th at 9 a.m. And I would like for all the programs to be there, or at least somebody to be there from these programs. I did go out on an email, and I did kind of make it mandatory because we do want to. I do want these programs to be involved in this homelessness. This is something that we got to take care of. I know we got one in the cities also, but I feel right now we should take care of our people right here on our own reservation. So that will be coming up as soon as we can get the money. I know there was $3.5 million that was brought in. I would also like to say that we are going to put on the community council and myself are going to put on an appreciation dinner for all the people who are involved in finding Will out here that was lost on the lake. He was out there for 3 days, and a lot of departments were involved in that. So I would like to get a appreciation dinner for them. That went out on an email. I believe Aisha is working on that. It was be today, but because of the funeral last Friday, we had to change that again. And then that's about all it. But I just want to wish you all a safe and happy Thanksgiving and enjoy your turkey meal. I'm going to. Miigwech.
Very good, Trey. District 2's out, so District 3 next up.
Good morning, everyone. Mike mentioned the loss of our members here. I'd like to take a moment of silence for all of our White Earth community members that we've lost. Which I haven't got much to report on. Last month I reported about trying to get some back of the White Earth State Forest, and Randy and I have been working with our lobbyist in St. Paul here, and he's working pretty hard on that. It's looking good for us. Haven't heard much in the last couple of weeks, but they're giving it hell down there, huh, Randy? I was just mentioned White Earth State Forest land recovery thing that we talked about. We're working with Bill on that.
Yes, it's working on that and trying to figure out how to make the state might have to make a motion here or a resolution here to push that to the state. And he's saying that should be a condition to get all of it transferred over to us.
Sounds great to me. I just got a message here from Minnesota Housing and Finance here that White Earth will be approved for 2 multi-family projects and 1 single-family project totaling $5.5 million. Yay! That's right on. I just want to mention this. You guys, please get your families, everyone you know, your cousins, your mothers, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, sign up for the census. We need to get that taken care of. That means big funding for all of us here. You know, we have a problem here, winter months, struggling with light bills, fuel bills, propane stuff. Filling out the census thing will help funding come to the Native people here. You're not going to get in trouble if you owe child support or any of that kind of stuff. That has nothing to do with it. Just let your families know to let the census worker in your home to take down your census. So that funding is going to help every one of us here. The lady we talked to, she said if White Earth completely fill out the census, we'd gain like $680,000 a year in help with energy assistance. You know what that would do for us? Help us all. So I just want to say that and make sure everybody gets that out. all your relatives. Other than that, that's about all I have to say. Thanks everyone for coming, and drive safe. It's nasty out there today, and happy Turkey Day.
Okay, Miigwech Chumsey. Right now we'll go on a little break, so, all right, thank you. 10-minute